Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Hanrahan. We start with some breaking news at this hour. The House of Representatives has passed a bill to codify the right to same-sex marriage nationwide and to strengthen other marriage equality protections. The Respect for Marriage Act was passed by a vote of 267 to 157. 47 Republican House members voted in favor of the bill. We are still waiting for that full breakdown of the vote right now, including how lawmakers from Washington voted.
Now, the bill was drafted after lawmakers feared those rights could be overturned by the Supreme Court, which last month, of course, overturned Roe v. Wade, as well as abortion rights, saying they're not specifically mentioned in the U.S. Constitution.
In our Boomtown coverage tonight, we have been tracking the growth and the housing crisis in Spokane and the steps the city is now taking to address the issue.
So now more multifamily housing is an option across the city. It was a unanimous vote. Spokane City Council passed that new ordinance allowing multifamily housing on single-family plots of land. While housing experts say this will help alleviate high rents and low vacancy rates in the city, some residents are concerned about what it's going to mean for their neighborhoods.
And they do devalue the properties. They move in, they cut down the trees, the fences fall, and it's a loss for the homeowners.
The ordinance is a one-year pilot program. City Council could vote to extend the program once that year is up. And coming up on KREM 2 News at 5 tonight, we'll hear from a housing expert about what neighbors can expect from this change.
But as a result of that decision, Spokane is now trending regionally on Twitter.
Reactions are pouring in from people in other West Coast cities saying if Spokane can do it, places like Seattle and Vancouver, BC should follow suit.
So take a look. This is what the state's Assistant Attorney General had to say. Terrific leadership from Spokane on expanding missing middle housing options. Seattle, Washington legislature, what are we waiting for? And
State Representative Joe Fitzgibbon, who represents parts of the Seattle area, said Spokane springing into action to fight the housing shortage. Let's see Seattle next.
And even the Sierra Club here in Washington State praising the move, saying, nice job, Spokane. This is the way. We hope cities across the state now look to Spokane as an example. Well, we now know the name of a man who was killed in a road rage shooting on I-90 on Friday night. The Spokane County Medical Examiner says 34-year-old David Nofel was killed by a gunshot wound to the back. His death has now been ruled as a homicide. The shooting happened in the eastbound lanes of I-90 near the Thor Freya exit. Investigators are still looking for a suspect. They're also looking for a white Chevy that looks similar to a Malibu. If you were driving through that area last Friday night, you're asked to please call the Washington State Patrol.
An independent investigation into the officer who shot and killed a man who was holding a knife to a baby has concluded now. That shooting happened back in January. Police were called to a home near Chief Gary Park, and that's where they made contact with a woman, but had difficulty getting information from her due to a language barrier. Well, police then entered the home where they say they saw a man holding that knife to a baby. According to court documents, officers tried to de-escalate the situation, but the man then went upstairs with the child. Officers said they believe the man might try to light a can of kerosene on fire and ultimately cause an explosion. The officers shot the man inside the house. He later died. An investigation into the shooting has now been completed, and its findings have been delivered to the Spokane County Prosecutor's Office for review.
Well, in the wake of the Uvalde school shooting, safety in classrooms is back on everyone's mind. And last night, the Post Falls School District talked about ways to keep their schools safer.
The school board discussed adding more resource officers and even arming teachers. The school board says the SRO budget comes from the state of Idaho, and they are only approved for 4 officers for the entire district. As for arming teachers, Idaho state law states it is illegal for anyone to have a gun on school campuses unless approved individually by the school board.
The problem, if a teacher's armed, we may not know who they are. We don't know all the teachers. And if we see someone with a gun, and if they happen to be shooting that gun especially, we have to make a split-second decision on whether we're going to shoot that person or not.
And the board also discussed active shooter situations, saying as difficult as it is, they want parents not to show up at the school. And they say it can create a chaotic situation if hundreds of parents are showing up to a school in an emergency situation. They said parents, though, would be able to get updates from the district on what's happening. We are also tracking wildfires burning across the inland northwest at this hour.
Starting in central Washington, level 1 and 3 evacuations still in place near Chelan as a lightning-caused wildfire continues to burn. That fire has now grown to 1,200 acres today.
So take a look at this map here on your screen. Right now, level 3 evacuations are in place for the Downey Canyon and Hawks Ridge Road areas. Those who are under a level 3 evacuation, that means you need to leave right now. All other areas are level 1 evacuations. That just means stay alert and get ready to go.
The Stamen Flats fire is burning near the Knapp's Tunnel heading into Chelan. The fire is 0% contained. Chelan County Emergency Management is advising everyone to stay out of the area right now. According to DNR, ground and air resources are still on the scene.
And so on that note, we want to turn to weather because as things get hotter and drier, of course, the fire danger is continuing to escalate.
Meteorologist Michelle Boss in for Jeremy tonight. And Michelle, this weather we're having right now certainly not helpful for firefighters.
That's true. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of strong wind out in that area, though it is a little bit on the breezy side as we take a look at some of the wind speeds out across the inland northwest from Moses Lake up towards Omak. We're looking at sustained wind speeds of 10 to 15 miles per hour. Again, not seeing a bunch of higher wind gusts, so good news there. And winds are generally light across the rest of the region, but it is certainly hot and dry with temperatures in the 90s across central Washington and in the low to mid 80s from Spokane into Coeur d'Alene. Currently 93 in Omak, 94 in Othello, and lower 90s in Lewiston. Satellite and radar shows dry conditions all across the northwest, and we expect that to continue over the next couple of days. Here's a look at the short-term forecast. It is going to be a warm evening with temperatures still in the mid 80s by 8 o'clock. Looking at clear skies tonight, and the good news is with the clear skies and low relative humidities, those overnight low temperatures will dip down into the upper 50s and lower 60s, so we do get a chance to cool off. You can still open those windows, but it'll be hot the next couple of days. Sunshine and 90 for Wednesday, 90 on Thursday, and the chance of some isolated thunderstorms Thursday night into Friday will cool us off a little bit. Highs in the mid 80s on Friday.
All right, thank you very much. Washington's primary elections now just 2 weeks away. So this week we are hearing from candidates who are running for Spokane County prosecutor. First up is incumbent Larry Haskell.
The comments were reprehensible, but those are not my views. I don't share them, and I certainly don't practice them in my professional life.
But how can you say your wife's opinion doesn't affect you?
Coming up after the break, hear his answer to that question as our Amanda Rowley spills the tea on where these candidates stand on important issues.